Hey everybody, welcome to Design Chat number 32. Glad to have you here. This is the best live design discussion on the internet. In fact, we believe it's one of the only live design discussions on the internet. Let's keep it that way. Just kidding. Anybody who's talking about design on the internet, good for you. Keep on doing it. We need to build more design community. Contact us. Get involved with the show. We'll help you out. Design community needs to be really strong on the internet, and we're here to facilitate that. So in that spirit, tonight we have Mr. James White of Signalnoise Art. Thank you for coming, James White. What's happening, man?
Hello, Internet.
Hello, all of the internet.
Man, how are you?
Very good, very good. So a little back history. Anybody who hasn't seen the show before, this is week 32. In week 12, I can't remember if it was the first week or the second week that we did it. You were one of the first two people to do a live design chat, a live video design chat. Prior to that, design chat used to be Twitter-based, used to be just text. We'd, everybody would gather, we'd ask questions, and everybody would sort of talk about design for a couple hours. And it's just really exciting to have had you on that first week. And we weren't video capturing it yet, so nobody can see that. It only happened once, and then it was gone. But now we're actually capturing the video, and if you missed the live chats, you can see it on designchat.mevio.com on the Mevio network, or you can download it as a podcast for free on iTunes. And it's really exciting for us. I think it's exciting for the design community because everybody gets to meet people like you, which they might not have the chance to regularly. Although, James, I got to give you a lot of credit. You are extremely active at promoting yourself and getting your name out there, and I got to congratulate you on that. That's awesome.
What? No, I appreciate that, man, and then thanks a lot for having me back. You know, I had a blast the first time we did this, and between being featured on this here and watching Nick Campbell do his vidcast, man, that urged me to kind of start doing the same, man. Start talking to people. It's awesome. I love this interaction. It's great for the community, like you said, man. I appreciate it.
It really is, and especially now that we have all these tools that we can just do it for free. There's no reason we shouldn't be on here actually communicating with each other because, in my experience in design, there's a lot of barriers put up, in between companies and in between individual designers, and even if you're in school, there's a lot of competition with you and the other students, that sort of thing. And definitely we want to break down those barriers. We want to get the communication rolling and get the design community together. So 70 active users right now, 72. That's awesome. I'm so excited to see that, you guys. So awesome. Thank you guys for everybody coming out. Like I said before, if you've got questions throughout the chat, throw them up there. We'll serve them up to James at the end. And that's awesome. One of the things we ran today was that I'm giving away Google Wave invites for anybody who joins the Facebook group. So go to Facebook, not right now, later. Go to Facebook and search for Design Chat Group, or just Design Chat on groups, and sign up. If you sign up and you bring a friend, and you can email me and prove it, and confirm it, I will send you a free Google Wave invite as soon as you send me that email. So we got to grow this community, guys. Okay. Where should we even start? Okay, so why don't you just do a quick, brief history of the type of work you do and where you're from and sort of why you do it.
Sure, man. My name is James, and I run Signalnoise.com, which is my own personal blog and art website. Talk about my inspirations, showcase my work, I sell posters, and I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I've lived here pretty much half my life, I guess, and took graphic design in 1995 and got caught up in the web boom in about 98 and been working in the field ever since. I have a 9-to-5 job, but I do Signalnoise on my own time, and it's really fun. A lot of my inspirations come from like colorful retro junk from when I was a kid, which is awesome. Toys and video games and all that stuff. So. And
we're going to be showing some of James's work on the screen behind me in a little bit, but you can always go to his blog, signalnoise.art.com or signalnoise.com?
Just signalnoise.com.
Signalnoise.com, and on Twitter he's signalnoiseart. Be sure to hit him up on Twitter and follow him because he posts, because he sells his artwork. You've got posters. There's a holiday sale going on right now. I just saw. and he puts out specials about his work. So definitely follow him on Twitter. All right, so you got caught up in the sort of internet boom. And when that happened, were you already sort of doing this sort of illustrative style that you had?
Well, I've been drawing since I was like 4 years old, and all the way through elementary school and all the way through high school. So it never occurred to me back then that I could actually do this kind of full time, or do this for a job. Like, I didn't really know what graphic design was at the time, so I was just always drawing comic books and things. And so after grade 12, I just ended up getting into graphic design, and that's when I was taught the theory and further illustration skills, and was introduced to pretty much the computer, to Photoshop and all that stuff. And right after that, I took a course in interactive technology, and that taught me how to make a website, how to make CD-ROMs, how to make all these new things that were all the rage back in like '97. And yeah, so that pretty much I took a real interest in designing websites, but I also really had a keen interest in trying to use new technologies to further my own personal work, because like I said, up until I was 18, it was just strict illustration. It was pencil and pen. It was that kind of thing. So yeah, I've always tried to get a little bit of I didn't want to be limited to the table cells that were like commonplace back in 1998. So yeah, always tried to get some illustration stuff. I've always had an interest in it, and yeah, just happened to get caught up right place, right time.
So what's your current, how would you describe your current sort of style? What's your setup? Are you completely on computers, or do you start with colored pencil? Where does your artwork start right now?
Well, it's kind of segmented. Like, I do a lot of, I still do a lot of illustration work, but that's mostly like kind of cartoon-based, character-based. I'll doodle like toy designs and that kind of thing. But for the most part, when it comes to my work, my poster work in particular, that is, it starts in the sketchbook. So I'll rough up some sketches, just black and white really quick. I might do a little bit of grayscale in there to kind of get depth or whatever. And that's just, and after that, once I get a concept laid out, that's when I move to the computer. And after that, it's just full tilt Illustrator, a little bit of Flash, and mostly Photoshop. So it's kind of segmented in the poster work that I do, almost strictly computer stuff. But I'll do a lot of cartooning and things, but I need to scan them, and I'm kind of lazy about that. So they rarely land on my Flickr stream, unfortunately.
Sometimes it's hard to catch up with all these different streams that you have. You know, there's got to be a way. You know, eventually, because we've got a lot of things popping up right now in different services and that sort of thing. Eventually, hopefully, there's going to be a way where you can just sort of publish the one thing and it goes out to all your different medium. There's one thing out there like that right now, Posters. I'm trying to get familiar with. I've only used it a couple times, but that might be a sort of a good way to sort of get it all out there at one time.
Right. Yeah. Foster is kind of like a found kind of a thing. I remember seeing it. Is it kind of a blog like Flickr hybrid or something?
You know, in DesignChat, we always sort of like segue off to this. There is a tech part of DesignChat that we sort of have to, or design in general, that we need to recognize, and this is one of them. I think it's important right now because there are so many different ways to get your artwork out there. So Posterous, as far as I can understand and tell, is a service like I was just sort of talking about, where you can post, you know, a video or images or just text or a link, and it'll go out to all numbers of different types of social media platforms that you're already signed up for. So I think you just send an email to post@posters.com after you sign up, and it'll go to your blog, any number of blogs that you have. It'll post to your Flickr account. It'll post to your Facebook account. And there's a ton of, look it up, there's a ton of different social media places that it'll go, all simultaneously, and you don't have to post it a million times. So it's kind of nice.
That's right. I'm totally going to have to look into that. That sounds cool.
It is. It is. Excuse me. Sorry. I got a frog in my throat. So on that note, I've got up one of your pieces behind me right now. This is one of the pieces that you just sent me this week. And you definitely, like, if somebody looks at your portfolio, they're going to see a very specific sort of style. You work with light a lot. You know, things are glowing. You know, there's a lot of movement. Where do you say that? Where would you say that influence came from?
Oh, totally. Like late '70s, early '80s network ID, like network logo designs that were on TV. If you do, there's a ton of them on Found right now, and in particular, like my favorite logo is the NBC logo, like always has been. And back in well, they started in the 70s with the multicolor thing, but every one of the animations they had back in the day, they couldn't really use. It might have been right at the dawn of kind of the computer graphic or whatever. So it was a little bit limiting because I don't know how much processor time it would require to make one of these things in the late 70s, but they had to rely on handmade stuff, which is to me it's astounding that they could have done what they did using traditional animation and traditional cinematography, where they build things and then film it and have it look the way they did. So a lot of the influence comes from that, how everything back in the day was brightly colored, it was super saturated, there were lots of lens flares and lighting effects going on, lots of glowing stuff, and I think way back in the 70s, man, like they needed to do something that was going to just blow out the audience. Whenever that NBC logo came up and the feathers would expand or whatever, it had to be amazing because they were like, man, corporate TV, man, those guys, they got to get ahead of one another. They're crazy. So I'd say a lot of the influence in my work comes from that. And but then again, I mean, that's kind of meshed with some modern designers too. I mean, just to list off a couple of my favorites, like Chuck Anderson, for example. His lighting effects and his blasts and everything, like huge. Oh yeah, huge influence. Like his stuff looks so striking all of the time. And yeah, definitely an influence too, man. Like he does lighting better.
He's definitely a friend. If anybody's not familiar with him, on Twitter he's at No Pattern, and I think his website is nopattern.com. And I've been familiar with his work, I want to say since about 2003 or 2005 or so. He started showing up in some of the design magazines. I think Communication Arts is one of the first times I saw his stuff. And he's slated to come on the show. He's been very busy with his client work right now, so we sort of had to shuffle and change the schedule. But he's definitely going to come on. He's definitely a cool guy, and I think bringing him also to the design community is going to be pretty cool. So yeah, that's all. I mean, looking at these styles and something that we've had Fabio Sasso of Abizio, who's actually in the audience tonight. What's up, Fabio? Something he talks about once in a while when he's doing like a tutorial or something like that, he'll be watching a movie and there will be some sort of cool effect that he sees, and he has to figure out how they did that, or how he could reproduce that somehow in Photoshop. And I really think that sort of experimentation is at the heart of what design is, and it's one philosophy that some people like and some people don't like, is that in order to get somewhere you've got to make a bunch of mistakes and experiment and try to do something, and that will lead you to other discoveries. And I think that's something that we can kind of see in your work, that you're trying to reproduce these styles and these effects that we're familiar to seeing in moving images, but in a still perfect sort of portrait with the right light and the right sort of emotion. It just comes across just smashingly.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the experimentation part of it. And when it comes to a lot of my processes, that's exactly. I always try to I'll have an idea in my head of what direction I want to go and what I want to have featured and that kind of thing. But I'll always leave it open to trying different things, because I'll make a mistake at some point and duplicate a layer that I didn't mean to duplicate, and I'll look at it and go, wow, damn, that looks way better than what it did before. Yeah. So it's kind of like the happy mistake. It's an organic process, and you really it needs to be done, I mean, personally anyway. It allows for things, it's an organic growth as every piece goes. And I'll never say that a piece ends up looking exactly the way that I want it by the end of it, because it goes through so many twists and turns. And I mean, a prime example is a poster I worked on recently that's going to be launched within the next week or so, I think. And I ended up going through 13 different versions of it before I finally got that one that I wanted. And one of the big things that I do is it's the morning after test, where I'll stay up until 2 in the morning working on something, and then if I wake up the next morning and I look at it and I go, yeah, okay, then it's all right. But 9 times out of 10 I go, God, go to sleep earlier. And
that's a cool struggle that that a designer or someone who's involved in a creative project needs to sort of come to terms with, is that it's hard to love your work right after you finish it, or even after you've seen it, a couple of weeks later. There is a sort of internal struggle with, what am I going to allow the world to see that I've done and have my name on it? And even if you've done something totally brilliant, it's still hard to see that and judge it for yourself and say, that's awesome, I'm totally happy with that. Do you ever get to that point where you're just like, man, I nailed that?
Well, sometimes. I mean, there's I've been asked before, like, and it's kind of a similar question to which are my favorites that I've done. Like, in terms of my whole portfolio, there's some things I look at and go, yeah, I should have. Well, most things I look at and go, yeah, I should have spent more time on that and that and that and that. But that would lead to just a ream of unfinished stuff. You know, it's hard to look at it that way because I see all of my posters as the sum of its parts. So I look at it and it's like, well, I built that in Illustrator, and I built, well, the one that you're looking at right now, the network piece. I'm looking at that, it's like, okay, that's the TV. I found the image that goes on it, and I made that rainbow. And I see it as all these little bits that kind of make the one thing. But I can't just see the one thing because I can't see it with a fresh eye. Hard to explain, but it's a sum of its parts for sure.
So what's your technical setup? Are you working on a laptop? Are you working on a desktop? Do you got a pen? Are you doing it just via mouse? Are you on a trackpad? What do you do?
I got a stylus.
You got the stylus.
Yes, I got a MacBook Pro that I picked up in April of this year, and it's the second Mac that I owned. The first one I got rid of in 1998. It was a Macintosh Performa that I bought in like 95.
Nice.
And man, it was I wish it was nice. It was kind of a hunk of crap. It kept freezing up for no reason. It was a real cantankerous wench of a machine. But and after that, I mean, forgive me, everyone. I went right to a PC, and I had a PC up until I got my MacBook Pro. And anybody that knows me personally laughs because I'm kind of a hillbilly when it comes to technology. I got them like my previous computer to this MacBook Pro was a Dell Dimension that I got in 2003.
Oh wow!
So and it would take me 10 minutes to save like the network poster and behind it. It would take me 10 minutes to save that file, and I could play 2 Rock Band songs. So it like perfect. So I hit save, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go play, you know, the Black Sabbath or whatever. So so in terms of technology, I'm a little bit of a novice, I guess. And it's hilarious. I had an 18-inch monitor with this thing. It was puny. Like, I don't know how I lasted on it. But I mean, for all the slagging that I do on that machine, man, she was a champ. With some of the ridiculous stuff that I threw at it, it churned it out, man.
That's one of the things that I think is really interesting because there's this big, you know, sort of almost social divide between the Mac users and the PC users. And really, when it comes down to it, they're just tools. Some of them we like, some of them we don't like, and that sort of thing. But as long as, you know, you can get the machine on and you can start some artwork and save some artwork, it's, you know, they're pencils, they're Sharpies, you know, they're charcoal and paper, and they're just a tool. They're another way of producing an image. And if you've got something in your head that you need to execute, you know, it doesn't matter what machine you're on. You might be a little frustrated and hate it, but so I think, personally, as long as you focus on the work, it doesn't matter what machine you're on. It doesn't. I do have my preferences. I'm not going to lie. I'm a total Mac fanboy. But I've been in jobs, you know, I was doing some freelance jobs in Chicago, and I interviewed for this job for about 2 weeks, and it was a 3-month gig. And, you know, they tore apart my portfolio. They were very critical about my history and what I've done and what they thought I might be capable of. And I show up on the first day. I get the job, and I show up on the first day, and I walk in, and it's a web-based company, so it's just full of PCs, right? And they're like, yeah, here's your desk. And I was like, oh, okay, so you're going to swap out the machine right there? Because there's a PC. I hadn't touched PC in about 10 years. And they're like, no, that's your computer. And I was like, well, I'm 2 weeks of interviewing. You could have told me that I was going to be on a PC. I was like, this changes the game. I'm going to be twice as slow as what I would have been. My production is cut in half. You need to understand I'm not going to work as fast as you want me to work. And, you know, it's one of those things. There's a learning curve, and you learn the new key commands and that sort of thing, and you can get through it.
Yep, that's right. And other than minor little quibbles that people have with operating systems, most of them, forgive me, are kind of the same. You can kind of do the same thing on both of them. I know, like, there are some fundamental differences between Mac and PC, but you're right. Ideally, if you figure it out, there's a little bit of a learning curve. It might take you a little bit longer, but, you know, it's a tool, and you hit the nail on the head, man. It's just a pencil.
And it's to create your artwork. And your artwork comes out, you know, and a lot of times in these sort of poster forms. So tell us a little bit about how your So you've got your 9 to 5, you've got your, bread and butter sort of job, which is at a design firm, if I remember correctly from talking to you last time. And then on the side, you do this artwork, and you take on clients, and you do these posters, and you sell these posters. So tell us about your process for that sort of thing. When does an idea turn into a poster, and when do you decide to sell it?
It's a little bit of a random thing. Like sometimes ideas for these things will just kind of come out of nowhere. Like when I'm laying in bed at night and something will just strike me. By the way, always keep a sketchbook by your bedside. It's invaluable. So sometimes ideas will come out of nowhere, but other times, like Fabio, they'll come out of watching TV or watching a music video or watching a movie. I remember watching, it was about a year ago, I saw, for the first time, I'd never seen it, the first Star Trek motion picture. For some reason, I never saw it.
Just a year ago?
Yeah, I know, and it came out in like, what, 78?
Wow.
So, I know, man, it's just like I was so behind the curve on that one or whatever. But, so I watched it with some buddy of mine and just like, wow, look at these effects, man, like this is rad. So it was go time at that point. So like I got so much material, just edit those crazy effects and those blurs when they're going into hyperspace and they're behind the asteroid or whatever, and everything's going. I was like, that looks amazing. So I mean, ideas come from things like that. It might come from a logo on a sign that I see when I'm walking down the street. A lot of it comes from inspiration websites like Abdazio, like Found, Smashing, like all those guys. So a lot of the inspiration comes from those kind of things, but then again, like you can have inspiration, but you need to kind of harness it to execute it in a certain way. So that's where a lot of that process of sketching it and really thinking it out kind of comes into play, because I need to get that idea, that kernel. I can just whip around special effects in Photoshop or whatever, but you need that core kind of fundamental, that anchor, that one thing that's going to make it not just a special effect or whatever. And that's personally how I look at my work. So trying to get it from, I guess, this glimmer of inspiration into something that's solid, that I can actually draw upon, that I can create symbolism for, that I can create the color palette for, that I can create like the typography, the logo for. That's really where it goes. And once that's kind of in place, I'll just keep hammering at it in Photoshop until it looks like something that, well, I'm ultimately the first eyes that are on these things, so I have to make sure that I would hang it on my wall before it gets printed, before I launch it online, and ultimately before I sell it. So, I'm my worst critic for that kind of thing. But I mean, I think every designer is, and we have to be.
So what kind of printing process do you go through with these posters? Do you use any sorts of special ink? With the way that you use light, are there specialty inks that you use any time, or is it like a CMYK thing all the time? What's your process there?
Well, it's a little bit of a unique thing, and I didn't really know what I was doing at the very beginning because I'd never printed posters on large format before. So the company that I worked at the time, called 3 Ton, they dealt with a company here in Halifax called Precision Digital, and basically I just called in their sales guy and said, here's what I'm going to do, what would you recommend? And they said they just got this printer, this large format printer, and he said we can print pretty much anything up to like 300 feet long or some crazy thing. So he said, yeah, I'll run it through that, I'll bring it in, show you some samples, and we'll see where it goes from there. And I was like, okay, fine, here's my stuff, like I hope it goes well. And he came in, and man, it was, I almost started weeping. The colors were so good, man. Like I don't know what printer it is. I have no idea. It's the paper isn't anything special. The ink isn't anything special. It's just this crazy $30,000 printer that they have, and they can just burn stuff off. It's a digital print. It's not offset. There's no special ink, and it's just poster grade paper. And it's the proof, I'm yet, like, the guys that I work with, every time I get a proof, I yell, come into my office, I got a new poster proof. And they'll come in and they'll just be like, I haven't stumped these guys yet in terms of color. Like, everything they've done has come back, like, and it looks just like it does on the screen. And it's RGB. So, yeah, it's a huge fluke. Like, in terms of the printing end of things, after the design and I send it off, I give them full credit, man. And other than just proofing it and making sure all the stuff looks okay, they've banged out these posters. They can do like an overnight turnaround on like a 50 poster run, and they've killed it, man. They've really destroyed the quality. Like destroyed the quality. That sounds I mean the exact opposite of that.
I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you. So is this something that, in addition to your blogging about sort of inspirations and what you perceive as inspiring in the world of design, in addition to your sort of like side poster business, is this something that's going to be sort of like a full-time gig for you, or will this transition, or where does that sort of live for you?
It's as for right now, like I kind of have a situation where, of course, I have the 9 to 5, but that kind of allows me to be very selective about what clients I work with on my own time,
Uh-huh.
which is a really good thing to have in my corner, where I don't need to bring in all of these like every client that I have, or every client that comes my way because I need to make mortgage, or I have to pay employees or anything like that. So right now I can be really selective about what I do, and plus, of course, having a 9 to 5 doesn't allow me a lot of extra time either. Like, it's pretty much night and weekends, and that's it. So I have to be really careful about what I do to make sure that I have enough time to not only make something good for them, but to meet their goals and meet their deadlines. So yeah, that's right now is kind of the situation that that Signalnoise needs to be in. I still feel like I'm kind of culminating things. I'm still trying to nurture it, and this is as for the future. I mean, I don't really know. I'm just gonna keep doing what I love doing, and see where it goes.
That's awesome. And I totally understand, because I'm in the same situation. I didn't sort of introduce myself earlier. I saw some people asking in the chat room. My name is Ryan McGovern. On Twitter, I'm at Hoopajube and at DesignChat. I am a designer, an art director in the Chicagoland area. I work for a large marketing group. And DesignChat is something I do on the side. I saw this opportunity to start bringing the design community together, and it started on Twitter, and then we started doing video, and James was one of the first guys to come on and hang out with us. And now it's totally for fun. There will be some advertising involved in the future. I want this thing to extend. I want this thing to live on. And in order to sustain that, we've got to start bringing in some money to sort of help us out and buy computers and that sort of thing. And because we're editing video, and we've got video up on iTunes and Mevio. So I really hope it continues that way, and DesignChat communities keeps on thriving. It's exciting to see so many people here today. So for anybody who hasn't been here before, we're about half hour through our chat. We're going to do another 15 minutes or so, and all the questions that you've been asking in the chat, we're going to pose those to James in about 15 minutes or so, and then you can get your specific questions asked. So don't stop posting them. Keep on throwing those questions out there. Even if we miss them, we're sort of harvesting them right now, and we'll get to them in a minute. Excuse me. So, all right. So let's keep on moving on. Why don't we talk a little bit about these pieces that we're seeing behind us? These are some of the ones that you sent me earlier this week, and I think I've got some mixed in here from back in June when you first came on. So, is there any specific one you want to roll to real quick?
Well, something recent. Probably. Well, I could just run through if you want to just snap there. I could just talk about what they are and how they came about and kind of thing. Sure. Well, yeah, right behind you right now is the Smashing Magazine 2nd anniversary poster, and I was contacted by the guys that run the design blog, and kind of out of the blue, which was it was really cool because that's one of my favorite design blogs. So it was a real big honor. They asked me to do it was kind of their 2nd anniversary, and they wanted something that basically they just said, make us a poster, and that was as much direction as they gave, which is awesome. So it's just like, oh man, it's daunting at first because it's just like, well, I don't know, do I want to put a refrigerator on there, like a tiger, like I don't know. So it's a little bit daunting at the beginning, but lots of fun. The guys were awesome. They basically I designed that and sent it off to them, and they went, yeah, great. Like nothing. It's just like, is the logo too small? And like nothing. So it's just like no feedback. It was awesome.
It's the standard make the logo bigger that you were waiting for.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, that's basically how that one went. And yeah, you can just flip through them there if you want to, and I can.
Rock 77 here.
Oh, Rock 77, yeah. That one actually started as I was going to go see Queens of the Stone Age, one of my favorite bands, and I wanted to make my own shirt. Me and my buddy Ryan Grant, we decided we were going to make our own shirts, and there were Caius, which is the precursor to Queens of the Stone Age. Awesome band. So we're like, yeah, let's make our own Caius shirts. That's going to be wicked. So I designed a Caius shirt that had basically the big white writing and this arc with I think it was like a cactus in it, like very desert rocky kind of thing. And I really liked just the overall aesthetic of it. And I have the shirt, but I wanted to do like a poster of it, so I started messing around with it. And was like, well, I don't want to do a Caius poster because, like, I don't know, I'll probably get sued by my favorite band, which would suck. So I decided to do something that was very kind of Led Zeppelin-y 70s rock and roll. I wanted something that was kind of like that scene, only somehow would fit into my portfolio too, and would fit in with the rest of my posters. So yeah, I decided to do that one there. It's a little bit more photographic than I usually do with those posters. But yeah, and that's the font I was talking about earlier, Bookman Swash with the big swoops.
Say it again. Which one is that?
Oh, that was Bookman Swash, that font. Yeah, the one with the big hooks and stuff. And like, I love that font, man. So awesome.
And then you applied all the distressed look to that typography?
Yeah, and all of that there, like making something look old is very much a Scott Hansen inspiration, because he makes posters that not only are amazingly designed, but they look like they actually hung on a wall back in 1970. And he has kind of like the tape around the edges and just this really gritty kind of like semi-wrinkled look. And I really liked what he did, and I really tried to put that into the rock poster for sure.
That's awesome. So we got Robot Rock here.
Oh, the Robot Rock. Yeah, that one there, like Daft Punk, like full tilt, man. That one, I started listening to, I was late getting on that boat too. I started listening to Daft Punk quite a bit, and I was like, man, I really want to do something. Like their stage presence is something that's so 80s yet robotic, somehow new yet retro, and it's just like they have this weird kind of mixture of these two elements, and they do it amazingly. And I was like, man, I want to do something that looks or has that kind of a feeling. And it's insanely difficult, but I tried to do it with just in the poster format. So that's how that came about. And I actually, the first version of it had the Daft Punk logo at the bottom, and I have like little silhouettes of the characters and stuff. But obviously, I couldn't add it to my poster store with the Daft Punk logo on it. And I tried to get a hold of their management to see if I can, somehow work something out where I could sell it or whatever. But didn't happen. They didn't get back to me.
They're one of those great groups who, they found this great harmony in the sound that they can produce and then the artwork that comes with it. And I think that's really something that's exciting, especially for designers, and something we can all relate to. Is at one point or another, you had a band that influenced you, and you started doing something that you were moved to do because of that music. And Daft Punk is definitely one of those groups that you just get a vibe from. You're like, it's sort of like filled with energy. And something I'm kind of excited about right now is like, you hear all those rumors about, and we nerd out on this all the time, the Apple tablet that's coming out. At the same time that they're sort of revamping how they handle the iTunes store, that there's sort of like murmurs going on about how they're going to start handling artwork that comes with your music. Because, it used to be that you got your LP, you got your record, and you basically got a poster that came with it, right? And some people just smack that right up on the wall, or they'd have a big poster that folded out of there. Then we got our CDs, then we're down to 5 inches, and then, okay, well, there's books, and it's kind of neat, and then it kind of died. People stopped buying CDs. Well, now that we buy all of our music digitally, there's no print. There's nothing to hand out. So I'm really hoping that, Apple sort of leads the way with iTunes to provide a way to sort of experience artwork or video or something when you buy your music, because it's definitely a sort of integral part of enjoying that.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you brought that up because, that's been something that we've slowly seen dying over the course of the last 10 years, like you said, with the MP3 thing. And man, it's worrisome, I mean, you're a fellow designer. It's worrisome because it's like, well, what if the print industry doesn't? What if everything goes digital? Newspapers are going digital, magazines are going digital, and it sucks because, man, the tangibility of a CD or a vinyl or a magazine, it's like that's where it's at. I mean, just to hold something in your hand, that's where, I mean, for me anyway, that's where everything should reside. I mean.
It's hard to get over that idea of like the physical media, and that when you buy something, you get something tangible that you get to hold on to, and you get to say, oh, this is mine. I get to have this. Nobody else has this. This is mine.
Exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. And it's something you can pull out and show to friends, like, and not like, hey, I got to show you something, and then log into your Facebook. Right. It doesn't have the same
it doesn't have the same
power
thing
to it. Yeah.
It totally doesn't.
Plus, you can't. You can't print with foil ink on a monitor either, yet.
Exactly. That's not nearly as cool. So now we got your network
That's right.
one that you started to talk to a little bit earlier.
Yeah, Network. This is influenced directly from the movie of the same name. Came out in 1976. Network is all about the evils of television, and this is something that I haven't really experimented with in my artwork. Is the element of sarcasm, and this poster is really, really sarcastic, in that it's like everything's going to be okay. Tune into us, and we'll show you that the world's great, kind of thing.
Right.
And that's kind of like one of the underlying elements in Network back in the day. So that's this is something that I wanted to do. That's like, it's bright, it's colorful, it's yay, but it's crazy because I insanely disagree with it in the fact that evil, if it did, or television, if it did fall into the wrong hands, or somebody evil took over NBC, it's like, yeah, that wouldn't help us too much, man.
It's funny you bring that up because it was just announced either yesterday or today that Comcast is buying 51% of NBC. And in my eyes, I think this is going to be a horrible tragedy. I don't think this is going to turn out well. Because now people are raising questions about, well, what about Hulu? Does Comcast get a little control over Hulu, and how does that work? And so now we're going to have the situation where the internet bandwidth provider will have control over the content that's happening. And people are wondering about, well, now maybe we're going to have to start paying for some of this content that is right now being shown for free.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. I guess that's one of the things when one company gets appropriated by the other, or just taken over, kind of thing. It's that, yeah, some of those good things are lost, and if there's corporate dinosaurs sitting in their kind of like top level office, see something as like, well, that's not profitable, even though, I mean, culturally it's amazing. It's just like it doesn't live up, it doesn't hold up on the books or whatever, and it's kind of weird. Really related to what you just said. I just saw a couple of tweets about this a couple of days ago, and you might know more about it than I do, because I haven't seen a lot more after it. About the Flickr thing, about people having images taken down off Flickr without warning. Have you heard anything about this?
No, I haven't.
There was something, about I guess it's like if you're promoting something, it's if you're providing links that take people away from Flickr, it's not seen as a good thing. Maybe I just saw this here, and maybe it was just something in passing somebody wrote or something, but
it was really bizarre, because if it's a feature that Flickr built in themselves to create a clickable image, if they built it in themselves, it's sort of their rule. So is it Flickr? Do you remember if it's Flickr themselves who are saying that are taking the image down?
That's what I don't know. I think Flickr had contacted these people and said, we took this down for whatever reason, but I hope it's not because of the Yahoo thing. How Yahoo kind of I guess bought Flickr or something like that, and I hope it's not something that they're trying to integrate into something like that, because I mean, that's a really big community that would be that would experience a huge loss because of that. I mean, especially the creative guys like us,
I think we're going to see a lot of issues like this creep up and be major issues and affect the way that we communicate with each other when these larger corporations take hold of something that's successful like this. I mean, the tiered pricing thing, I really think that's going to happen now. Just a month ago or 2 months ago, the company that owns Hulu, I think is News Corp or something like that, they announced that in the future they will be applying pricing to Hulu. You're going to have to pay for Hulu. And like a week later, maybe not even a week later, after everybody was like, why would we do that? This is horrible. We don't like this. They sort of retracted that statement. But there was something in that statement that's still leaned to, at some point, some of this content you're going to have to pay for. And some people are thinking, okay, well, maybe if it's the high definition version.
Yeah, I guess corporations, huh? I don't know. Weird. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Monuments was it started out as a 2D image that I created. Just this here is also a comment kind of on uh, this is kind of another whole discussion, but this is kind of the human beings building things to show how amazing we are, kind of thing, like the pyramids, like all these things that we build because we want to prove that we're an amazing species, I guess. So this is kind of one of those things, just like, okay, stop stop the monuments kind of thing. That's why it's all pyramids. So it started out as a 2D image, and it turned into a collaboration with me and my buddy Johnny Mitchell, who's a 3D artist, and he took my 2D image and created the 3D rendering. That's what that version turned into be. So he passed off the 3D back to me, and then I applied all of my my effects, my coloring, and all that there kind of thing. So it was my very first collaboration with a 3D animator, a 3D modeler. I'm probably screwing up his job title. I think he's a modeler, effects technician. I'm not really sure. He's probably watching this, going, "God damn it!" Yeah, that's right. I told you 1,000,000 times. Yeah, sort of. I'm the designer, but like typically my 9 to 5 is designing websites, and I've been asked that question quite a bit just by people locally about where do they find somebody that can do that kind of thing. And I mean, I always just say just back to the internet. You can if it depends on the size of website that you're looking for too. If you're looking for something that's a big content driven with a big CMS and that kind of thing, you're probably going to want to lean toward a larger firm, but of course prices are much higher because the more people that have to work on it. If you're looking for something that's more of a boutique site, that's more just sits there, looks good, promotes what you're doing, like that kind of thing, you could probably go for a smaller company or individuals. I know there's a lot of individuals that like do freelance web design and things. I would say, and odds are these people, if they're website designers, I would assume that they'd be doing some online marketing, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, and you can just do a like a Google search on your hometown website design and see who comes up. You may have to dig a little bit through other Google results, but I'd say just do that. Try to keep it as local as you can, as close as you can, and yeah, see how that works out. I'm totally going to spread that around, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I just touched on that earlier. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I have involves a lot of 45-degree angles. So, and there's a really simple explanation for that. Is when I was developing my assets, those kind of line shards that I have, it was really easy to have them going straight up in the air, have them going completely horizontal, but holding down the shift and rotating it in Photoshop, I could get it snapped. Everything, all of my line shards could snap to 45 degrees. Because when I do that, everything lines up perfectly. So when I put another set over top of it and then adjust the opacity, every single line lines up perfectly. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. I'm not kind of noodling around with points and trying to rotate things and that kind of stuff. So yeah, a lot of that's where it comes from. It's really a technical decision, just so I can have it snapping and having everything lining up the way that I want it to. And yeah, that was it's a technical decision, I guess. It's the That's kind of a weird thing. Sometimes, yeah. Most of the time, it's just eyeing it. Like I really like symmetry. I like things that reside in the center, whether it's a logo or something like an anchor point. But in terms of grid design, I was trained in it, and there are certain things like corporate standards manuals and kind of year-end financial reports and that kind of thing, which I've been involved in designing. Those grid system comes in perfectly because it's communication design. So that kind of thing, absolutely, absolutely all about the grids, all about the hardcore typography. When it comes to my stuff, not so much. I don't really rely on the grid. I rely on pretty much an axis of where the center is, and I might split it up into 3 areas and just have the elements either reside in the top or bottom. But it's pretty mostly by eye, yeah. Wow, man. That's solving real and dreaming about something and then having it apply in real life, you mean? A problem? That's interesting, man. Wow. I had a dream recently that I could play an amazing electric guitar. And it was just, and I'm terrible. I can't play at all. But it was amazing. It was just like, this is awesome. But in terms of design, there's been like a couple of times that I've dreamed up something that it's just like I totally have to do that. Like I have to make that poster, and it sucks because I wake up and I'm like, I'm totally gonna remember that, man. As soon as I find my notepad, I'm gonna write it down or whatever, and then I walk out of my room and the coffee's on. So and then I'm like, ooh, and then forgot. So it sucks when that happens because most of the time I'm so excited, like, ah, man, and then it was just gone. But that's one of the times I mentioned earlier about having that sketchbook next to your bed so you can get up and jot stuff down. I do that now after, countless ideas are gone. Yeah, me too, man. It's the same. Yep, exactly. And it's kind of a weird thing too when you try to force it out. It's like sometimes it just doesn't work, man. Ideas come from everywhere. I not really actually. No, I just have like a kind of a semi-crummy 7 megapixel camera. So I don't. Once again, the tech thing. You guys are gonna think I'm such a hillbilly. But again, like I don't have a lot of tech stuff, and most of the time, if I'm going to be taking pictures, it's for art reference. If I'm going to redraw the person or a face or an element or just one thing that I need to get on the computer that's going to help me out. I've done a lot of shooting of just light bulbs, like flashlights. Like I'll shine the flashlight right at the camera and try to take a picture just to get kind of a big kind of lens flare explosion kind of thing. And a lot of that stuff and it's become pretty invaluable. I use some of the stuff in my work, and it's mostly effects stuff. Like it's not actual physical stuff because I just don't have the capability. I don't have the quality, which which kind of it's hindering at times. And I've always wanted to kind of get that camera, but it's also a can of worms too. So it's like all of a sudden I'm getting into photography. It's a new thing. So it's yeah, which which we have lots of time for, right? Yeah, no, there's the Signalnoise source DVD, which unfortunately over the past 2 months kind of got sidelined. But essentially, what it is I'm putting together a run of PSD documents, like layers intact, and these are just little visual experiments that I've either made for other projects that I haven't used, or just little things that an element or an effect that I wanted to achieve. So it's just little things that I did along the way that I want to put together in a DVD and offer up, just so people can look at it. And it's mostly it'll mostly be for educational purposes, for how I treat layers, how I work with color, the gradient overlays, how all that stuff works, because it's really difficult to talk about how I do that stuff, either online or via a tutorial, which is really time-consuming. And I applaud guys like Fabio that have the time to actually hammer that stuff out and do it so succinctly. But the Signalnoise DVD is going to be something that I offer up soon. I'm hoping it may have to wait until the new year because we're so close to the holidays right now, and that's going to kick all up. I wanted to have it done far before now, but unfortunately client work kind of sidelined that. So it's one of Yeah, there might be a couple of goodies. I'm trying to think of other stuff I could put on there. There might be a video, just like maybe a mini tutorial. I might just record a little screen capture of what I'm doing and what I can turn off, and I can show what does what and what interacts with what, and just so people can see how I'm going about doing some of the things that I do. Because I get lots of questions, in particular about layer effects, about overlaying gradients and color management and that kind of thing. And so instead of just talking about it or writing about it on my blog, I can actually do this DVD and show people. And you know, it might help out. You know, that's the overall goal. Is I just want to help people out. So hopefully soon. I'm gonna say January tentatively. Hopefully. So it is in the works though. I got like. Eh. Exactly. Exactly. It's step by step, man. If you help somebody out and they do something that you never thought of, it's only going to help everybody, you know. And like you said earlier, it's all about community, man. It's we got to stop the competition and just start talking to one another, because man, we're just going to make everybody stronger if that's the case, you know. So I want to keep, like, if this does really well and this sells, then that'll allow me the opportunity to do you know, volume 2 kind of thing, and I could do even more stuff. And it's yeah, t-shirts, man. That's another thing. The Signalnoise apparel line, I think two designs are pretty much ready to go to print right now. I just got to get the time to do it, the time to sort it all out, make sure I have the necessary funds to promote something like that. But yeah, absolutely. I have an awesome design. That's like the one on my poster with the big chrome awesome thing with a lightning bolt kind of thing. And I want this t-shirt line to be really 1970s old school, like put hilarious graphics that don't really relate to anything, but just make people go, wow, what? Lots of colors, man. Lots of chrome letters. Love it. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, like this whole process with this poster, and it was all in my own head, was a real pain in the ass, let me tell you. I typically start out sketching, but the thing is, this one time, for whatever reason, I got ahead of myself in jumping to the computer too quick. And it's something that I've done before, and I should have learned from it, but this time I just did it again, where I'd rough something out and go, yeah, that's fine, after 5 thumbnails, jump onto the computer, start doing it, and after 4 hours of noodling around in Photoshop, I realized, yeah, this concept kind of sucks. So what am I doing? And then I go back to the sketchbook. So in terms of the 13, it was all in Photoshop, and they were all sketched out previously. Some of them are incarnations of the same idea, but a lot of them were flushed out. I actually finished the poster almost completely on one occasion, and then woke up the next day and went, man, No. So I had to kind of redo the whole thing. But I mean, I'm a really big critic when it comes to my stuff. And the final product, what finally got made, is something kind of I would go, okay, that's something that I'm proud to send to the client and say, here's what I did for you. And that's ultimately it. Because if I don't feel like I'm safe, if I don't feel like I get excited about what I'm doing, then I have to go back and I have to figure out why. Okay. I just wanted to interject and say, yeah, man, Nick, you and I should talk, man. I noticed people are kind of going back and forth. Nick, you said you wanted to animate some stuff. We should talk, buddy. Yeah, Nick Vegas is the man. Oh, good for you guys. Awesome. I cannot wait to see that, man. You guys are awesome. He is both a gentleman and a scholar. Is it a Dell Dimension by chance? Never stop doing what you're doing. Run as fast as you can, as hard as you can, for as long as you can. And the best bit of advice that I was given was that you don't need a client to do work. If you want to do a cool CD cover, just do it. Make up something and make it for your favorite band. Do a gig poster if you wanted to get into poster design. You don't need somebody to give you a job for you to start working. Do what you do for as long as you can, man, and never stop, you know? Don't do like one thing a week, do 5 things a week. If you got the time, keep thinking about it. Like never, ever, ever stop because it's only going to get way more fun as you go. You're going to learn more things about design and technique and yourself. And yeah, keep talking about it. Get a blog. Get excited about it. Talk to other people about their stuff. Get excited what they do. And it's perpetual motion, man. Just never stop doing what you love doing. As in the best places to go, kind of to see inspiration and things. Yeah, I guess, well, the internet, man. Power of the internet. I mean, places like Smashing Magazine and Abdozito and Fubiz.net and DesignIsKinky.net. I think they're Australian. All of these places, I mean, Surf Station, that's one of my favorite design blogs. Josh Spear. All of these guys, sorry, I'm kind of rattling them off really quick, but all of these websites have a really, really good gauge on what is really good and really cool, really trendy, but really solid right now. And it's not just one thing. It's not just poster design. It's not just toy design. All of these sites have such a vast array of quality work that they show. It'd be like comic book illustration. It'd be sculpture. It would be, you know, video game opening animations, that kind of thing. So all of these websites, like, they just offer such a great kind of full gamut exposure to what's really good right now and what was really good in the past, you know. And it's just interesting to watch these and just follow the trends and see what was cool last year and the year before and right back to like the 1930s, you know. So there's a vast amount of fun, man. Hey, thanks a lot, Ryan, and thanks to you guys. Hey, will do. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. Everybody on your team and everybody who showed up, man. You guys are all awesome. You're all my heroes. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Later.